That was my path, music family. So the Cantor studies the musical tradition of Judaism. I came into it because I sang opera professionally for close to 30 years. And I may have colleagues who listen to this right now, and even Orthodox, like, blasphemy, no, but that's not
you got to turn to the
what
book.
I'm worried about. There's not necessarily a heaven, and there's certainly not a hell. I might even be agnostic, but because I have had almost near-death experiences through drugs and alcohol, I've had experiences that I came out of that I probably shouldn't have. Be who you want to be and be who you can be.
You're one eclectic dude, Rabbi David Katz.
Okay, fair enough.
Let's continue our discussion.
So,
wow. You're an amazing... I love your story.
Thank you.
Even despite the fact that you're from a faraway land in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona, but you live in a beautiful spot now in Lido Beach.
Very lucky.
And
very,
you get
very
to
lucky.
bicycle through Lido and Long Beach all the time.
Yeah, I didn't grow up in any, grew up in the desert, but also didn't grow up in a house. I just am marveled every day that I pull up to a house.
You were in a manger?
Close. Little apartments. Yeah, we had a different lifestyle growing up in terms of family and this and that. But I'd really love to just kind of respond to what you just said. This was a monumental, not speech, but expression. And I wanted to start by qualifying a few things. And we were talking about this, about myself. First and foremost, you might not know in the Jewish faith, there are two clergy, actually. There are two ordained clergy in the temple, right?
Yep.
There's what's called a cantor and a rabbi. The rabbi's pretty obvious. Everybody knows
Efficient.
a rabbi, right? Well, secular world movies, hey, rabbi, But to say to somebody, I'm a cantor, or you're a cantor, they have really no idea what it is in terms of Judaism. And it's... if you go to the seminary, HUC, or which is Hebrew Union College, which is where I was ordained, or Jewish Theological Seminary, which is the Reform and the Conservative. We're not talking, really conservative, Orthodox, the black hats, and that's an entirely different world. To lead in with, that's a remotely different expression of Judaism and a people versus what I'm sitting here in front of you today. So we have to really be clear about that I'm not in any way representing the Jewish people. I'm coming as a member of the club that happens to have a background as well, like everybody else comes to it with different backgrounds. So I came to it as a cantor.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was your path?
That was my path, music family. So the cantor studies the musical tradition of Judaism alongside rabbis in the seminary. You both go for 5 years. We learn almost all the same liturgy as well. They dive deeper into things like the Talmud and things like that, where we're diving into the proper musical expressions for certain prayers that are required, that have been around for millennia. So they are definitely diverse. They're split, but a cantor can do essentially everything a rabbi does. A rabbi can't necessarily do everything the cantor does because they don't necessarily know the musical structures. So for me, I came into it because I sang opera professionally for close to 30 years. And
you've done some fun stuff.
Incredible stuff. The Mets, I was sang at the stadium, sang this national anthem a while back. But and my temple in particular, remarkable, incredible temple. It's the third temple I've been in Long Island since I've had my career. We've gone through different structure, and our emeritus, who Jordan reached out originally, Rabbi Harvey, is now very, very sick. I started with him almost 13 years ago. And over the course of time, as he got sick, I would pick up, take over here and there because I could. As a cantor, I could do both.
There's clearly not as many cantors as there are rabbis.
100%. Yeah, it's a very specialized space. But so over the years, he would get, he was getting a little older, and he'd step out, I'd cover. Then he retired. We couldn't find somebody. I took over for a year. Then we couldn't find somebody again. I took over for another year. So over a course of like 5 years, I was the rabbi 3 times. So I said to my leadership, I think I'm going to go back, just go to school, become a rabbi. So that's my story. That's number one I wanted to qualify with you.
Did you come to New York from Arizona to become a rabbi?
To become a cantor.
To become a cantor
yes,
first,
because at that time, 35 years ago, there really was only the New York Seminary, or Israel. But when you went to the New York Seminary, you still had to go to Israel for a year.
Yep.
But you couldn't. Now there's online, there's LA, this and that. So that's the first part I wanted to qualify. I come from that background, and then I became a rabbi.
And you said your family was musical.
Absolutely. Very musical. And the other side is that my congregation has been remarkably supportive and incredibly helpful in allowing me to take on a whole nother career role and trusting me as the leadership, of their ship, as the leader of their ship. As you know, in the organization, the leading is a real challenge, and you have to really look at yourself and
your role as a leader of a congregation, either as a cantor or a rabbi. I don't think people are sensitive enough to the responsibilities you have. There's the obvious. There's the liturgical world you live in. But then there's the marketing and promotion and membership. You're responsible to keep this community alive and vibrant.
What a great comment. You're spot on. I mean, that is the interesting thing about the Jewish American experience and temples and synagogues.
Yep.
Again, not the Orthodox as much. We're talking about Reform, Conservative. I'm Reform. I grew up conservative, but I'm now Reform. They are independent unto themselves.
Yes.
Now, you go to the Catholic Church, there's a diocese, there's parishes, it's all taken care of. Every temple is independent unto itself as an organization. So, yes, you need members. You need to make sure that you're keeping...
You can't just sit back and say, you're a great rabbi, people will come.
Not
and
even
by the
close.
way, I would assume demographically, the numbers of people who are potential members of the community is declining.
So, Jim, I'm chuckling because you're literally, I may as well be sitting in a board meeting. It is the challenge, especially here, right?
Yep.
Now, Jericho, Syosset, all this area, Brookville, we have patches of Jewish people, but the Jewish experience also is not, again, I'm going to keep saying it over and over until it's sick in the face. The Orthodox have a whole different experience. You have to be.
Very different demographically.
And there's a commitment there that's not even questioned.
It's all encompassing around the life.
That's it. You are 100%.
You live a secular life.
So we mix. You'll balance as an American Jew, conservative, Reform, your secular with your religious space.
Yep.
And it's always been a challenge, and it's always been a phenomenon for the American Jewish experience. But going back to your comment, yes, our temple, I have an associate rabbi. She's a tremendous person. She's got talents way beyond me that I don't have, that she excels, that brings people in, so you try and take every angle possible. But in the end, Jim, in all honesty, the way I see it, I'm there to serve. I'm serving the community. I'm serving on two levels. One, and for me, most importantly, maybe some of my congregation might even be a little surprised or say, what? As a human being to humanity, okay? Within that umbrella, I'm a part of a club of the Jewish people, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I am. I could have been born a Muslim. I could have been born in India. This is how I was born.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I love the culture, and I love the tradition, and I love the morals and the ethics. And that's where I sit. So our congregation does everything we can to provide for the community who does want to be there their needs, and they're vast.
Okay, just categorize the needs.
Yeah, so everything from, let's start from the basics. Every community needs help with, we call them Mary and Barry, right? So you'll have those basics. The life cycles are first.
Sure.
Do we have a lot of...
That's cultural, that's social.
Yeah, across the board, right? So you need somebody to facilitate a Jewish wedding or funeral.
You're one of the few rabbis who do interfaith.
I do. Me and my father, dear friend, Father Michael Callahan, who apparently, he told me you reached out to years ago for a potential a wedding with him. And we do interfaith weddings to help people because it's a different world. It's not, you don't just meet from one place anymore.
You sure don't.
And everybody's kind of bringing new stuff in, and it doesn't mean you can't make it work. So that is one part we help. I have many interfaith families in my congregation. Many, at least probably 30%.
Mm-hmm.
So what? They can't have both experiences? They can't be in the temple and bring their kids to Hebrew school? That's just my feeling, okay? That's how I look at it.
I have a couple of grandkids who happen to be Jewish.
Ah, incredible.
And
so that you know the whole experience.
And they just have more holidays than the other grandkids I have.
Yes. The Jewish, there's a reason for that. In fact, in the very beginning, the creation of Judaism, they wanted a holiday a month, essentially, so that you should never be out of touch.
Uh-huh.
Right? Now, secular Jews don't.
That was social.
Not really.
I mean,
it was religious in the beginning.
It's going to be built around religious
but let's be honest,
But
Jim,
everything about religion is social,
let's
too.
be flat honest. It keeps people together. It keeps them coming around, and it keeps the connection of community. Absolutely.
Yep.
And that's what I'm always telling my congregation. We are a community. That's what we're doing here. And if it falls apart, who do we have to help each other with?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm always, my most important intent.
So you have, you and Julia have 2 little girls.
Yeah, well, 26 and 24.
Well, little girls to you, right?
I consider them adult females. I really do. They're remarkable, remarkable human beings.
They'll always be your little girls.
Yeah. Every man should have a girl. I think that's just something about that.
It's different. And I have, Mary Lou and I have 3 kids. Oldest is a daughter and 2 sons. And we were just chatting over the weekend about how different it is, how differently we feel about the relationship with our. I would pop in on my daughter at any time. I don't pop in on my sons.
Interesting.
It's not my place. It's her house.
You come from a certain generation also that has a paradigm of that type of thing. Yeah. I think I find my congregation, especially people mid-40s now, different type of outlook on kids and family and their role, and it really is. Things evolve, that's for sure.
So you and Julia are parents, but it sounds to me like with the work you do and the social involvements you have, professionally, musically, travel that I'm sure that involved, working with the different congregations, what role does your work or did your work have on the parenting of them, of your daughters?
What a great question.
Because they're around your community, your congregation.
Yes, I'm gonna actually push that over to my wife's doing a lot. I didn't come from a family structure. My parents were divorced when I was born, so I never even grew up in a household with 2 parents, much less 2 that liked each other. It's just the way it is. It's not a victim thing. You take what you get, and you can make, like you said, 3 choices. You can do what you want with it. So my family is probably mostly the way it is because of her. And she came from 2 parents who are still married. Her father, rest his soul, unfortunately just passed away. But in his 90s, and they were married 60 plus years. And she knew family. So I let her do a lot of the building, and I took her lead. Mm-hmm. So they grew up with that influence. And then being around, though, to speak to your question, yes, huge influence. And if you ask them, they will say they were always forced to be around adults. They were forced to be around social environments that were far beyond their age. And that forced them into having to be different people early on and understanding that they're not the center of attention and that
sounds to me
the
like
world exists around
it
them.
Would contribute to their maturing early.
100%.
Yeah.
And they heard the prayers, they heard the music, they saw how people reacted. They were in temple all the time. They had to sit still while the other kids could run around. My wife would say, sit there, Yeah, it's important stuff. And in the beginning, they hate it. And now they look at it and look back and say, wow, what a gift. Now I can use that. Yeah. I think all of it contributes to who they are.
So we were talking about your responsibilities administering to a congregation, and that includes marketing and recruitment and retention beyond the service of providing to the spiritual needs and the social needs of those members. And you say each temple is unto itself. There's no overriding hierarchy. What role in success does your social abilities? You mentioned your assistant rabbi, and how she's gifted socially. And
Deborah.
She's,
Deborah Tract, yeah.
Deborah's good at seeking out new members. She does it. Sounds like she does it automatically.
She's just.
You must see congregations that are dying though because there isn't that skill.
We're having the challenges as well. We really are, and it's. But I have to say, it's. I look at it now that I'm in that seat, because I wasn't for many years. I was the cantor, and the rabbi was taxed with Rabbi Harvey and Rabbi Judy. They're both amazing people. But in the end, if your leadership, my experience has been, if I'm not overall trying to serve to the best of my ability on all levels, then my organization, my temple, my community isn't going to prosper. Period.
It's got to be sustainable, right?
Yeah, and I can do anything I want, marketing this and that, and try every angle, and we have, and we continue to. But in the end, I need to serve them with everything I have, and be there for them, and make sure that each individual person, to the best of level, gets their needs met in the best we can. That's it. I just see it as an absolute service position, and I really see it as a gift, because overall, humanity needs more service. We're a challenging species, right? So our temple just needs to be there for the community in the best way possible, and that means a board, that means personalities, that means balancing them, the challenging ones. Nobody's bad, nobody's good. Everybody's who they are in the moment they are, and we all have our moments.
I was introduced by a friend of mine, also a Julie, to a fellow by the name of Jim Bechtold. Jim created a church.
Wow.
So he was in a big makkah, as they say where I come from.
Good for you.
At Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, and in running marketing there.
Big Reform Jewish area.
Is it?
Huge. It's where the Reform movement kind of started almost.
No kidding, because it's also the Bible Belt, right?
Yeah.
Well, he was dissatisfied with the community church experience he was involved with there in Cincinnati. So he and a few of his P&G friends created a church called the Crossroads Church, which now what I've read is that it's the 7th largest church in the country now. But what he taught me in our conversation, and I so enjoyed it, was the role and responsibility of church leaders to be marketers and community organizers. And he gave me a for instance. He said it used to be that Super Bowl Sunday was a quiet day around the church campus. And he and his board decided, well, we're not just going to take it on the chin here. Let's be proactive. And they created a family day that it's now super busy all day long with all different kinds of activities. Now, of course, when it gets close to game time, lots stay and watch the game there. But he said what they realized is to use their marketing skills to build community, to attract people. And I think my wife belongs to a small church in Garden City that's going away. Because I've been leaderless for now a few years. They lost their pastor, and I loved the woman who was the pastor there. She had some difficulties and had to move, and terrible personal difficulties. But I always would talk with her about, you got to build this thing here. It's got to be sustainable to be a community of service to its members, and that seems like an awfully large burden for you.
It's the real challenges in my mind is to not become too much of a marketing machine and to lose why you're really there.
Yes,
that's the challenge.
But I don't know. Are they in conflict? People. Rabbi?
Well, you have to have people, 100%. You have to have a community.
It has to be.
You don't want to lose the essence of the fact that you're a temple. So I have told my board endlessly over and over, as Deborah has. We both agree on this, that we must have events. We must have people come that aren't necessarily always religious.
Yes. Let's
have a yoga night for moms who want to get out in the neighborhood really quick and just come over 5 minutes and do yoga. If they're in the temple, then that's awesome. Yep. That's great. Different services, because I have a musical background. I took a few months ago, and took all the prayers and put them to Beatles music. And we marketed it, and come as the Beatle, your favorite Beatle. I was up there as Ringo, and you can watch it online. We stream all our services.
Sounds great.
It was great. In fact, it was one of the larger attended services we had. But it's not only services, right? Not everybody wants services there. We need to be multi. So we have services, we have events. I teach, not religion per se, but I teach classes like on the history of Passover. So the people, when they go to their Seder, they might know a little more about it.
More meaningful.
I don't get deep into the religion of it, but I think people are super interested also in historical aspects of where they came from and why we do things, right? So yes, the events are crucial. Now you have the competition because you have things like the JCC and the Ys.
Yes.
They are Jewish-based, and they're doing all the events also.
All the social, but not the religious.
You got it. So what do? We partner with them. We have great respect for them. We use each other. And in the end, just like any community, it's to help that specific community, the Jewish community on Long Island, in a broader aspect, right? But on the flip side, again, there's a larger space. Interfaith, I'm on the Interfaith board, Institute of Long Island. There's a lot of work to be done there too. So we're always trying to move things, but keep them the same, right? Because not everybody wants everything to go different, new all the time. Mm-hmm. When the holidays come, there are people that want to hear those absolute same melodies and prayers no matter what.
Yep.
So that might be 50% of my congregation.
To
So
the
I can't change
exclusion
that.
of anything new?
Not the exclusion, but the not so always introduced new.
Yes.
So we take risks. You take chances, you take risks. Demographics, you said, very accurate. Really huge.
Young
really
people,
huge.
I would think young
Biggest
people
challenge,
are
young
scarce
people.
in your community.
Young people, but I'm not so elderly. So I can identify a lot with my younger group congregation, and there are some incredible families that express, look, I really want my kids to be here. What can we do for them to become more interested?
Yeah.
And I'm all open for every conversation that comes, and we have them all the time. I think we're doing really quite well considering where we are in the community and the overall picture of Judaism online.
So where we started, the question of religion versus faith. The Dan Early, I'm a Jew, but I don't believe in God. I think what I interpreted from that brief discussion we had, to be continued, is that, and where we started was talking about Edith Gross, the lady who I met recently, who is a Holocaust survivor. And you were talking about the role that religion plays in organizing us as a people to get along with one another, to thrive emotionally, socially, spiritually. We need a construct, a set of rules. And in our case, it's 10 commandments, and that gives us a foundation for how we treat other people, how we organize ourselves, and what things we do and we don't do. But that's all in pursuit of understanding of what's beyond us. Afterlife, and I would argue, what's the pre-life? Is there just an afterlife because we were formed here in this human form, and where does it go afterwards? But it seems to me that several people that I have a world of respect for, and I've had this discussion with, I'm very fortunate to be involved in a group of about 9 or 10 men who are very special men. I'm the junior member. I'm the youngest by a decade or more. And they're just people I love spending time with, because these are people who you can have those kinds of conversations with. It was a couple of years ago we gathered at spring training to go watch the Mets play baseball, drink some wine, have some good food, and a lot of laughs and good conversation. And at our Saturday night, end of the weekend dinner, I asked a question of several of my of this group, and several of my friends in the group surprised the heck out of me with their own. I thought they were quite religious and spiritual, and they confessed to having doubts about their faith, or not having the foundation of the faith that I thought they did. Is that common in your world?
That's almost a loaded question because, again, I don't want anybody listening to think that I represent any particular space.
No,
I
but
will
I
give
say
you my own.
in your interactions with your congregants and beyond,
well,
your interfaith council.
I'd have to start with myself, because it all happens everything comes from our own space, right? I'd be curious, first of all, what the small demographic was of the faith, the religious backgrounds you had of the gentlemen you spoke with. Were they all Jews, Catholics?
Of the 10 of us, I would guess 8 are Jews, and I'm a Catholic, and another guy's in between.
So you're talking about also gentlemen who've had quite successful careers, who have developed themselves, who have built a life on tenacity, integrity, perseverance, and forthrightness, right?
He's a remarkable man.
100%. So they have seen the expression of humanity in themselves at some of the highest levels, impacted the world, given of themselves, right? So I think that type of person has a belief in themselves quite differently from other people who have not had the opportunity or have not gone that far, right? Mm-hmm. Why do I say that? Because many people, in my experience, struggled simply with, you wasn't it a psychologist degree when you went in psychology in early school, isn't that?
Yes.
So you know that the average human being in general is always struggling with who they are, what are they, who am I, self-esteem, these things, right, on a basic level. For me, coming to this point in my life, being in this space, the religious space for almost 35 years, I have gone through various ups and downs of belief and faith and seen so many things that have affected that. One in particular, this year I'll be 39 years sober. I stopped. I grew up in a very challenging space. 20 years old, stopped, right?
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that has given me clarity in life. I went through the 12-step space, right, which is tries to balance belief, but don't be religious, right? But have a power then greater than yourself.
Yes.
And they even say it doesn't have to be God, it could be anything, right? So what they're really saying is, psychological level, in my opinion, being around it that long, is get over yourself. Grow up. Mm-hmm. Quit making yourself the center of attention, the center of the world, if it needs to be a God. And you know that the 12-step came out of a very deeply Christian spiritual creation. There was a group of men. They realized that the religious part wasn't working on alcoholics, and so they shifted to make it just a power.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start there. That was my background of even being introduced after my Jewish life growing up, because I was about 20. So here I am today, and in my personal opinion, I have found that I might even be agnostic, but I can't really say I am. And why do I say that? Because I have had almost near-death experiences through drugs and alcohol when I was early on in my life, a very young kid. I've had experiences that I came out of that I probably shouldn't have. And I can't tell you if something or somebody saved me, but I can't tell you it didn't. Yeah. All right, so it's a very challenging space. And I'm going to be dead honest with you. I've had conversations with my congregation about this, with many very intellectual, smart, successful people. They feel the same. Yeah. They feel, in the end, we are, and I don't mean in the end of our life, I mean in the end, speaking just overall, we are responsible for ourselves in this world, as a very, very consistent with Judaism. Judaism believes you are responsible. That's why there's not a lot of talk of the afterlife in Judaism. There's not a lot of talk at all in Talmud or any space. They might talk about... Is that
right?
Yes, they might talk about Ha'olam Haba, the world to come.
Yes.
But there's not necessarily a heaven, and there's certainly not a hell in that respect. Like that was created by the church. Hell was created by the church, the concept of that.
Yes.
But the emphasis is on the now, here and now. What are you doing to make this? There's a term called tikkun olam, healing and repairing of the world. How can you do that if you're thinking about being gone all the time? How can you help your fellow human being? Now, of course, religious Jews would say your fellow Jew. I don't necessarily feel that way. I feel your fellow human being.
Right.
if you're not living present here and now and being the best you can to what you spoke to, commandments, however you want to say it, morals, ethics, the rules we've been given. So I look at that and I say, well, I'm responsible. I'm responsible no matter what. And so I take that on. Do I say, God told me to do it? Do I say to my congregant who is going through an unbelievable, horrific experience, one of my dear friends now, over 8 years, a gentleman, I won't say his name, he lost his daughter, 26 years old.
No.
Horror, the most horrific thing to lose a child. And we're dear friends now, and he says, I'm not sure about, how could I believe in God after? I said, you don't have to. I said, how about we just deal with the grief and the pain you're experiencing right now on a human level so that you can even live within this experience, much less worry about these massive concepts and throw that in the mix, and then you have to feel guilty and shameful about that, right? Would everybody say that to him in my position as a rabbi or a cantor or a clergy? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was my expression, because that's how I felt I could be the most service to him in that space. And that's how I see my role. I'm not going to tell him pray more so that you can feel better. How do I know that's going to work, Jim?
Mm.
And I may have colleagues who listen to this right now, and even Orthodox, like, blasphemy, no. But that's not
You got to turn to
what
the
I'm
book.
worried about, okay?
And you're saying turn within.
I'm saying you, myself, everybody, we are responsible for our own space. How you want to go at that is up to you. But in the end, the actions we take and the moves we make as human beings towards other human beings, for me, are the most important thing possible. Then I take that and I come from a Jewish expression and a representative of Jewish club people. That's the example I have to be a part of. And that's the farthest I can go. I can't go past anything else to say that I know for sure there is a man in the sky or there's somebody that controls my life. I just don't.
You mentioned this fellow who's had this tragic loss, that he's 8 years, a friend of
And
yours.
his wife, too, by the way. I can't omit her. They're both just the pain.
But I want to focus in because I just told you about a group that I'm privileged to be a part of, that I have a great, I really value that. And I'm very, very, very fortunate and deliberate about being part of a few groups like that.
Wow.
Is it more difficult for you or easier for you? What is the impact on of your profession on your ability to have and maintain friendships?
What a great question. I wouldn't have expected that question to come up. Friendships in terms of with congregants or in general friendships across the board?
In general, I mean, it would seem to me you're a well-known cantor, a well-known rabbi. You work at the Interfaith Council here on Long Island. I would expect that people wouldn't expect that they could develop a genuine friendship with you because of your professional responsibilities.
I never thought of that.
Yet, within your congregation, do people feel like growing up Catholic? It always seemed to me that the loneliest people I knew were the priests, because they were part of the community but separate from.
Yes, well, it's well put. You always have to be conscious of the role you're in. And they even tell you when you go to the seminary and you get ordained, always be conscious that people will project out onto you what they want you to be and what they want to experience from you, even though they may seem genuine or friendships and such. Truth be told, again, I don't come at it even thinking about that. I take people for where they are when they present to me, and I give and serve to them and the space I'm in the moment and what the needs are of that. Building the friendship, I have built some wonderful friendships in the community, in the temple.
The community and the temple.
100%. Within the temple and then the outer community.
Yes.
My community where I live, Lido Beach, I have a couple of very dear friends. But going beyond that and past the rabbinical or the clerical side, as a male getting older, and you get busy and you want to build your family and you want to create your career and you want to make sure everything's okay. It's not necessarily anymore for me, and I've talked to a lot of men about this, my age, to build new friendships.
It's hard.
it's hard, and it's time consuming, and it takes energy. And do we want that again? And do you have the time for that? And not only that, you want to make sure that the quality of person you're investing in is going to be worth that relationship.
Worth that energy.
100%. That the relationship's worth the energy,
Yeah.
because we don't have a lot of time left, right? And we got to make it all count. So,
But I think I wanted to ask you what impact social media in particular is having in your world, in your congregation, good and bad. But I would say that social. So I'm a lot older than you, and my wife and I have chatted about this a bunch because we're fortunate enough we have a place in Florida. I don't get there very often, but the good news is my wife is spending more time down there, even though I can't be down there as much. And I feel, because otherwise I feel guilty about, because I'm still working here and fully involved, that I can't get away. But at least she feels, she's got a group of friends now that she's developed there, several different groups that she's a part of. So it makes me feel less guilty about making her stay up here with me while her friends are down south. But we talk about the fact that as we get older, we lose friends to health, Alzheimer's, geography. Several friends of ours have moved permanently to Florida, but they're not where we are. So we still know them, but how many more times will we see them? And your circle can, you know people in your congregation, in your interfaith world, who get out of bed in the morning and make 3 new friends. But they're the exception.
True.
Most people have to be deliberate about it and work at it.
Yeah.
And you're in the role of convening people where those friendships can flourish or bud. And so you're at the center of it. You're being the host.
Yeah.
And so you have a role to play in fostering those kinds of relationships. And you're watching your community, tending to their social and spiritual needs, and saying, I need to foster some community over here. Those guys, I need to get them to interact more.
Wow. Well, let's start with the social media. I have my own feelings on that. I don't have a Facebook page, personal. I stopped with about 15 years ago, right when Facebook just came around. For me, it wasn't a need, and it wasn't what I felt was healthy for me. Certainly there are positives, because grandkids, great-grand, you see pictures, incredible connection that you growing up, even me, we had to write letters to Grandma and Grandpa once a year. We send them a picture of us, right?
Imagine that, once a year.
That's what my mom required.
Of course
once
it was.
a year, right?
But
now, so it wouldn't even believe the space now, right? But I found within myself, unfortunately, maybe not fortunately, unfortunately, I found myself immediately hoping that what I would put on Facebook would be liked, would be commented, that people would, and my own self-centeredness and ego just started living in that space. And for me, it wasn't worth it enough, so I just stopped. I didn't care if people knew what I ate, or if people saw this and that and that. Now, I don't have grandkids, so I don't have extended family to have that page for yet. So maybe that will change. My wife has a page, but and as you've seen, it's changing, social media and the experience of social media. Now, where does it sit in the positive? An incredible thing for our temple. We can let people know what we're doing. We can share pictures of our events. We can express, and it is fantastic. And again, I don't run that. My associate Rabbi Deborah, she runs it all. She's incredible at it.
It's a wonderful tool in that case. She is
so good, and I commend her, and I'm so impressed by it.
And look what it means to your members of your community.
Absolutely.
She wakes up in the morning and she goes to that page and she sees what's going on. She feels connected.
Yep, and they were at an event the night before, and they see themselves on that page. Wow, they feel good. They feel so. Yes, super positive. It
strengthens that connection.
It and when used that way, yes. And then, like anything, there's the other side, right? So it can, in a heartbeat, by one bad post, one bad comment, one bad presentation, the whole community now is in an uproar, and it's a whole, right? So the challenge is the control, which we don't have anyways. We think we do, right, all the time, but we really don't have any control outside of, again, who we are and what we do and the expressions and the actions we take. But you can't do without it, without a doubt. You cannot do without it. So I try and just let her take that balance in our temple life. My personal life, I don't really use social media. I don't have an Instagram. I don't have even the YouTube things that you saw in me in terms of concertizing.
Yep.
I didn't put them up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. My kids get angry at me that I should promote myself more and do this, that. Honestly, I just I'm living, trying just to do the best I can for the people around me, and then the larger group of the world, and the space I'm in. That I don't want to put my energy to promotion and things like that. I love what I do, but it's not what I look for, So I don't do social media really. Mm-hmm. I just don't.
I find having texting groups to be important for me.
Interesting.
Because the for instance I give is I told you we have a house out east at the beach in the summertime, and there's a group of a dozen or more guys that will mix it up and play golf together. And it used to be that 10 years ago that we'd go out and all of a sudden you haven't seen people in 8 months, and so the relationships waned, and then you'd have to rekindle them. Now we stay connected, sharing jokes or interesting articles, or take a poll who's going to win the presidential race. We feel connected. So when we see one another in person, again in Memorial Day weekend, you're picking right up where you were left off because you've stayed connected.
Absolutely.
And so I'm deliberate about keeping a handful of groups that I feel part of connected, and if I go a while and no one sent anything around, I'll go look for something that we should send around, and I find it's a way to keep relationships alive.
That was great. That was really well put. You reminded me of something that one of the interesting things about the whole evolution of social media and our communication, right? Because that's what's changing, without a doubt. Mm-hmm. And we have to adapt coming from a spot, like I've told my wife years ago, we were talking about it, and I remember saying kids, 20s, 30, even 30s now, maybe 20s, late 20s, never in their entire life had the experience of sitting and having a cup of coffee, right? And sharing and catching up, quote, right? Like you said. They just haven't.
Yeah. They
don't know what that experience is. Now, people who are before me, even maybe around your generation in my congregation, say it's horrible. They never have. How can we even expect? But then I say, listen, you see, you hit it on the nose. I say, just because it's not your experience doesn't mean it's not positive or healthy or for them. Mm-hmm. And I always go back. Remember this. When the TV came out, television came out, there was a massive movement, even in Congress, you remember, to ban it because they said it was the devil's work and it was going to make children, I hate to use this word today, but retarded. Yeah. And if they watched it long enough, they would be put in institutions. And it went to Congress. Then the telephone, right? Then it was taking the cord as a kid. We'll wait for the telephone, going the cord into your room.
Yes.
And your parents, always on this new phone thing, and we can never get them in the house. So for
me, it was video games.
Same here.
My kids
playing
video games. Who knew they were training themselves for work?
Spot on. So every generation has the evolution of their communication style. So I believe it's on us. We can either do one of two, right? The choices again. We can take that horrible. They're never going to, or we can say, well, maybe there's something in there, and maybe I can adapt and I can learn to grow. So you just said it beautifully. This text group, like many people your age say, why? Don't text me, call me.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's not.
I used to say that.
You know what? I've gotten that from my congregation. Yeah. Why doesn't he call when something happens instead of text?
Or 5 years ago, people say, let's do a Zoom call. I said, no, we'll just do a regular call. Then I don't know if you heard about this COVID thing.
Yeah,
but
right?
After COVID, I can't believe, that we ever did regular phone calls without Zoom before.
How about this? Father Callahan, Michael Callahan, and I, if you look up New York Interfaith Weddings, we've been more than 20 years together. And we're the only interfaith duo in the tri-state area. And we say the exact same thing. 6 years ago, when we meet a couple, we would go have coffee first. Get to know you. We'll show you the ceremony, answer any questions you need. Whatever's now, let's have a Zoom, and it's totally okay.
Yeah.
100% okay. Evolution, right? Things change. We can't just sit and be stuck. Let's use it to the advantage and then do our best within it. I think, though, I'm finding, and obviously most congregations are elderly unless you're like in the city and you have a massive collection of young families and
Yes.
people, right? But in here in urban areas, suburban areas, you're going to have more elderly, right? It means a little more to them. It just represents something different. That's the way it is. You have to accept that. It's harder for them to adapt, to think that there could be a different way of communicating or that it's satisfying. So you really have to balance it. I'm very, very respectful of that and conscious of that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important. Everything shifts. Nothing just changes immediately. But today it's going much faster to adapt. And boy, is it hard to keep up if your paradigm is not, if you didn't grow up in that paradigm of technology. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's in their 20s now grew up in a paradigm with something in their hand, an extension of themselves.
They've grown up digitally native. And I can't believe we've gone this long without this next subject coming up. But a fellow I've developed a world of respect for in the last year is an expert on artificial intelligence.
Wow.
And he said to me almost a year ago, he said, your kids didn't grow up digitally native. I said, no, digital came in while they were young. So he said they adapted to being digital, yes. My grandkids have grown up digitally native. But what about the kids that are going to grow up AI native and how different that will be? And he warned me about companies that would be AI native companies. So he's tracking, the last time we chatted, which was a month or so ago, he's tracking over about 24 companies that are AI native. What I mean by that is he has a law firm, one employee. It's the engineer who built it. And it's driving the states crazy because they don't know, who do we license here? Wow. He has another company he's tracking. He's only told me about 2 of them. The other one's a staffing company, one employee, the founder. They interview people through an avatar and video. They're tracking everything, eye movement, focus, concentration, ability to type. They rate the people, language capabilities, etc. It's all being done through artificial intelligence. Then they get the job orders. They place the people. They rate them. They build the customer. No employees. What conversations are going on in your world, either within your congregation or in your interfaith activities or in your musical careers? What impact do you see coming of this new wave of augmented and artificial intelligence?
I'd have to pause and to think about that first, because I have to separate my own personal feelings on that, my own fears on that, right? Mm-hmm. Starting with the community.
Well, just take the people you're training for their bar and bat mitzvahs.
Right, the kids, right.
You can have an AI tutor work with them now and teach them everything they'll need to know. And the AI tutor is watching and sees that they've lost concentration.
Brilliant example. So let's look at that. Let's actually parse that out and see what is the experience supposed to be from the beginning. It's supposed to be a connection between a spiritual leader of that community. Could be the same in the Catholic Church, could be with the sacraments, could be whatever, right? That's the original reason it's there for, is to keep the child in the community, keep them bonded, let them get connected. Again, personal human interaction. Is it even a bar mitzvah anymore if it's an AI taught? I don't know. It depends on what you're going to call a bar mitzvah. Yeah. And so those are really the questions that are going to have to be answered or at least explored. In Judaism, it's always the question. It's never the answer, right? So the more questions, the better. But my first reaction to what you just said, and I try and come from intuition and my heart, I listen to my body when people say things. And my first reaction was, where would religion play a role in AI? Where would the experience of religion even need to play a role if you're relying on everything being done for you like that to the highest level of technology?
Well, wouldn't it be interesting? I'm sure it's been done, but you create a large language model, an LLM, with all of the teachings of Judaism forever, the Talmud, everything. Mm-hmm. And now you, in preparing a sermon for your services on the weekend can now have a conversation with all of the great thought leaders in Judaism forever.
Well, that's a beautiful personal experience for sure, and I think it's probably happening already. In fact, for me, I do so much study and research now when I present classes. I learn more than I've ever learned in more speed than I've ever learned it. But going back to the original, I mean, the question, what you really brought up, if there's a space, if somebody can make AI and religion, the total intent of religion is community and human interaction. So what are you going to do with that then? Is there no need for it? And that's
more need than ever.
Well, that's my question. Is there need for religion, or is there need for human beings to be together to make sure we're a species that's going to survive, and we're based off of a collective belief that we do good and well and this for each other, and that we continue? It's way easier to sit behind a computer screen psychologically, because you don't have to face anything. You don't have to face your fears. You don't have to face body language. You don't have to face somebody getting in your face. Yeah. So the guy, the woman, whoever is sitting on the chat becomes emboldened when they're in their living room and they're putting comments on some place.
Because it's anonymous.
Totally anonymous, and they don't have to face responsibility for your own behavior, and they don't have to face themselves. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, maybe I am getting a little older, whatever. I will adapt as best as possible, but I am a human being, and I am Jewish within that. I have a vast depth of millennia of history and things to glean off of. I may get ancient, I may get old, I may get lost in the mix as things go, but I think I see the value in that far greater for my own personal experiences to what I can offer the world. That's where I'm coming from. What can I do for you as a human being? How can I help you? How can I help you? Mm-hmm. If I don't know about AI as much, well, then maybe somebody else does, and they can help you with that.
But you know someone who does, and you can make an
Without
introduction.
a doubt. So that's, again, I keep circling back, if you notice to that. I try and keep it as simple as I can. Mm-hmm. It's a very difficult place to navigate out there now. And I am not in an easy role. Mind you, I chose it. Yes. I'm not saying I signed up, okay? So if I signed up, I have a responsibility to that first and foremost. Who did I sign up to in my community? Then I need to be there for them in whatever capacity they need me to be. Sometimes I'm better at it. Sometimes I'm worse. Sometimes I can use AI. Sometimes I do Zoom lessons because the kid got sick. Okay, yeah. So we will find those spaces. But boy, what a question too, and what an example of the law firm and the this. Would a virtual rabbi be okay? Of course, for potential spaces that it would be okay for. Yeah. But would then the person just wither away alone because there's no human interaction?
Absolutely.
And they sit right. So
what's the worst torture in the world?
Isolation. That's the one. So again, let's foster what we can on one side as the other side develops, and let those people who can create it, but let's not lose this connection, because it's all going to fall. You got to have the connection. We have to continue.
A couple of points. One is, I've said this on this podcast before, that some of the people I most admire in life, family, friends, are products of a 12-step program. It shows.
Interesting.
And the other thing is a confession. I get to do this podcast, and I get to explore the things I'm interested in. And you can see I'm interested in this journey of where we are with faith and religion and the roles they play, afterlife. You taught me today something I didn't quite realize, which is the emphasis in Judaism is not on the afterlife. There's a question as to what afterlife is, and I didn't quite realize that. And the other part of the confession is I get to do this. I get to meet people like you, have wonderful conversations, and even at this advanced age, as I step onto the escalator to the great unknown, I get to make new relationships with people I admire and respect, and enjoy the heck out of learning and learning from you today.
Wow.
Thank you.
That is, well, I have to thank you just for being here. Like I told you in the beginning, the people who have sat in this chair, I'm not remotely qualified or success oriented.
Clearly you are. You're a liar.
All I can tell you is it is a thrill and an honor, and what you're doing is just, I hope that I could do the same. You know, you're engaging people. You're still contributing to the overall creation of who we are as human beings and people. You're doing it on every level, whatever it may be. What do we say? Whether you believe or not, God bless you.
The last question, when you're driving back to work today, what's on your playlist?
Yeah, today, you know, I do a lot of podcast listening like everybody else now, right?
Because, it's terrific.
Well,
isn't it?
you just expand. When you learn, you expand. You either
I
grow or
find
don't.
if I listen to music now, I feel a little guilty that I'm not learning something. I use
Interesting.
music now as I'm only going to listen for this. I have 15
Wow.
more miles to go. I'm going to listen to music to set my mood. But it's so much good stuff to learn out there. Yeah.
And it's so much access. Like, it's unending, the access to it. So I find I go in and out of things. I go in and out of.
All right. You're in the car alone.
Yeah.
The sun's come up. It's warming up
I got
a
a
little bit today.
45-minute drive to a funeral.
What are you going to sing?
What am I going to put on? What am I going to sing?
What are you going to sing in the car?
Well, I do warm up in the car but I'm an opera guy at heart. That's how I trained. My initial intent from opera was to be the very best I could be, and opera's never ending.
You performed with the Jewish tenors.
Yes, 3 Jewish tenors. I did for years with them. I've done tours in Italy. I've sung on orchestras in the United States. That's a whole nother section of my life. That's a pursuit that will never end. You can never get good. You can never master it. So I see that as a never-ending challenge, and I just see it as an artist in me to continue to get better and give that gift. That's a whole nother. I like giving that gift as much as I can. If I can move people with my voice, then that's what I've been given. So what do I listen to? Well, confessions. But it's not. It's public. My congregation knows, and in fact, I created a new social group. I am at heart a lover of metal, heavy metal. That is my love. I love Black Sabbath.
I never would have guessed that.
That is one of my. I grew up on it. I was in a band in college before I got sober and all that stuff, and but it never left me.
Yeah.
I have a group of guys, like you said. You have a group of guys, 5 or 6 of us. We go from the temple to heavy metal shows. That is one of our collective social groups that we love the very most. Nobody can touch it. We will never disband. And we, for years, have been doing that. So there are times, depending on the space I'm in mentally, that I will throw that on just because it brings me right back to who I am. But then there's other times that I am a little more reserved, calm, or I came from a beautiful lecture or something, and I'll throw on La Bohème, and I'll reflect on my study of Bohème and the brilliance of Puccini. So I think we can be anything that we want to be, but in the end, again, if it comes back, as long as you're coming out of that space and you're willing to serve and be a part of the collective and give of the best of you, who you are, then good on you. Be who you want to be and be who you can be.
You are one eclectic dude, Rabbi David
Okay,
Katz.
fair enough.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's been an honor. Thank you. It's
Thanks
really
for being
tremendous.
here today. You're terrific.
Great stuff. How about a hug?
I love
Another
hugs.
hug in and hug out.